So I mentioned on the program yesterday, toward the end, I was talking about this hit piece against Right Reverend Dr. Tom Buck. Just like to put them all together. By Mark Wingfield, SBC pastor calls Vice President Kamala Harris a Jezebel 2 days after inauguration. And I read the actual quote. I can't imagine any truly God-fearing Israelite. Okay, stop right there. What's a God-fearing Israelite? God-fearing Israelite is a person who believes not only that God exists, but is in covenant relationship to him, and therefore is in submission to God's law, and therefore has objective truth and objective moral values. I can't imagine any truly God-fearing Israelite who would have wanted their daughters to view Jezebel as an inspirational role model because she was a woman in power. So what's his point? The idea of woman in power is irrelevant to whether we should be pointing to someone as an example, an inspirational role model, to use the specific words that Dr. Buck used. Woman in power, I can guarantee, I'm not going to pretend to be Dr. Buck, but I would say he's one of my closest ministerial friends in the world. I really do. I hope he feels that. I think Derek Melton and Tom Buck and some of these guys, I've been in their churches. They mean the world to me. And so I think he'd allow me to say on his behalf that what he was talking about is that a woman in the home who is a godly wife and mother training up her children in the fear and admonition of the Lord is, because of the content of her character and the consistency of the worldview that she is living in, is the true and only real inspirational model that we should need to have. And the idea of transporting her out of the home into a position of power. Actually, I would suggest she's in the greatest position of power she could ever have. In shaping the next generation, being right there in the home and being mom has the greatest power. But the idea is people say, here's a woman in power now. We're so excited. And as Christians, we should be going, and what is her moral worldview? And when we examine that, we find it to be utterly debauched. Utterly debauched. And so I stand with Dr. Buck and what he said in that tweet. And if Mark Wingfield would like to write an article or maybe do what he didn't do with Tom Buck, like contact him, like get the context for his words, maybe Mark Wingfield would like to come on this program where we can have a discussion of what the appropriate example for young girls would be, and whether Kamala Harris's worldview in regards to abortion, infanticide, the profanation of marriage, transgenderism, and a whole host of other issues would be what we should be pointing our young girls to. Or do we point them simply to the outward rather than the inward? Might be some questions to think about. But this is the point. This is the same. It's the issue of thinking presuppositionally. What is the presuppositional basis of looking at a quote-unquote woman in power and analyzing whether this should be a person that we are seeking to emulate?